Welcome to Brand Lover, honest, real, and lively conversations for flourishing entrepreneurs and budding business owners on a mission to cultivate a heartfelt brand that connects with their purpose-driven mission. My hope is that you walk away feeling inspired and refreshed with a weekly takeaway in your back pocket that you can apply to your life or business. A huge heartfelt warm welcome to Trish Germain from Leaf Jars. I'm so excited to welcome you to the podcast, Trish, and share some of your story.
Yeah, thanks for having
me. So I'm going to throw it over to you now because I would love you to introduce yourself, like who you are and your beautiful business as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I'm Trish. I'm a wife to my husband of 22 and a half years. And I have a now adult son who's just finished grade 12, which is very exciting.
Wow.
Lots of new adventures, but also very scary.
Yeah.
I'm a mum of a dog in case anyone hears it barking at any time. Baxter. By trade, I'm actually a nurse and I still nurse casually, but very casually. And I run my little business called Leaf Jars, which I started in October of last year. So
amazing. So you're only 1 year old.
Yes.
I feel like I've known you a lot longer than that, but obviously I haven't. That's impossible. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about Leaf Jars.
Yeah, so I guess in some ways I fell into it initially. So I love plants, and I started chopping up my plants and starting to grow my own plants off the plants that I had, and I found that I had all these jars everywhere that were just jars that I had soaked the labels off, and it was all a little bit too messy for me.
Yeah.
Because I had lots of them. And so I sort of set about trying to come up with a jar that was a little bit more aesthetically beautiful. So did that. And then I started selling them on Marketplace. And they were selling really well. And my husband said to me, "Why don't you do it as a little business?" And I've always had a need to fulfill a creative side in me, and a bit of an entrepreneurial side. I'd had some businesses way back. So I was kind of like, oh, that sounds like fun. And so I set about doing it. And it took me probably to get to the point of having the website and everything ready to go, probably took a good 12 months, but maybe I could have done it a lot quicker than that. It was other distractions as well.
Yeah, well, you're a mom and you're working.
Yeah. So I did a couple of little like pop-ups and stuff prior to actually launching, and then I launched in the October. But I guess also what I really found is that I love plants, and I was just being told by so many people, oh, I'm a classic plant killer. I can't look after plants. I don't have a green thumb. And I was sort of thinking, actually, when you grow these mini plants in water, they actually are really easy to care for. And I had this joy, I had been through a bit of stuff, and I was really finding joy and relaxation in being able to puddle with my plants. And I wanted others to find that joy as well. So it was kind of like I sort of discovered that, oh, this is really cool. I could have other people enjoying them as much as I do. And it's actually really lovely getting messages from people. I actually just had a message this morning from one of the hub members who has some saying, oh, look, I've got new growth on my plant. And I was so excited.
That's beautiful. And I love that. So like it fulfills a passion, but also, I know that you have this beautiful, generous spirit, and you love to sort of, to see that joy in others is so rewarding and fulfilling. Yes. So that's so lovely. So I mean, you mentioned that it took about 12 months to really get things off the ground. What was the biggest learning curve that you experienced?
I guess I'm not very tech savvy. So setting up my website was a big thing, like trying to work
Mm.
out how to do it. And I have got a bit of a fault in that I tend to be quite a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And I think I had this light bulb moment one day. I was talking to my sister-in-law and I said, oh, she's like, oh, when are you going to get started? Because she was so excited. She'd
Oh.
been telling everyone about my leaf jars. And I said, well, oh, I've still got a few things I've got to, it's not quite right yet. And she said to me, Trish, just launch. Like, honestly, no one else is going to know those things that you don't, that you're worried about. Just launch and tweak them as you go. And I sort of went away. At the time, I was thinking, no, like it's got to be perfect. But I went away and I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right. And so I did, and the wheels didn't fall off the cart. And it's just over 12 months later, and I'm still tweaking things.
Yes.
There are still things I think I'm not doing well enough, that I could be doing much better. But I've sort of learned, go looking for the places where you can glean that information, and learn as you go.
Yeah, and I think that's such a wonderful thing to highlight, because perfectionism holds so many of us back, and it's almost like we use it as an excuse not to do the scary big thing.
So true. So
yeah, so relatable. So just moving on to the next topic, which is pretty massive. It's the thing that you never really, like, no one ever really thinks they need to worry about until they need to worry about it. So recently you had a very stressful experience. I can only imagine, touch wood, regarding cybersecurity. Tell us a little bit what happened, Trish.
Yeah, sure. Well, it was at the beginning of October. I was actually preparing some orders, and I'd had a couple of messages on my phone. I kind of just ignored them because I was busy packing. And so it took me about an hour before I actually noticed the notifications from Facebook, and then consequently the notifications in my email asking if a login attempt was me. And long story short, I had been hacked, and hacked on my personal Facebook account. But interestingly, by the time I saw it, everything pretty much, like, it asked me to log in and update my password, etc. By the time I did all of that, the damage had kind of already been done. The hackers had logged into my personal account and had posted, to my absolute distress, child pornography directly on my feed. They hadn't messaged it through Messenger or anything like that to my contact list. They had literally posted it on my feed for the whole world to see. And not just one post, like 8 or more posts. I had friends who had seen it, who were madly trying to get in contact with me to say, oh my goodness. And like, for me, I am actually really happy that Facebook shut down my account. I have in the past, I did volunteer work in Cambodia with child victims of human trafficking. And so I'm very aware of the abuse that happens in these kind of situations. So for me, them shutting down my account was 100% the right thing for them to do. The tricky thing was that because my business Facebook account and my Instagram business account were attached to my personal Facebook account, all of them were shut down. So you kind of think in your head, okay, well, I will just send a message, let them know it wasn't me. I mean, we could see they'd logged in from Sydney. I'm in Brisbane. I thought this would be easy. But I then had to verify who I was by uploading ID, which I didn't even know was something that you might have to do. So I'm trying to work out, is this real? Are these emails real? What's going on? What's fake? What's not? What links do I click on? Which links don't I click on? But when I did submit my ID with certain things covered to protect myself, it was actually rejected. And I believe it was rejected because my personal name included my maiden name. So my ID that I uploaded didn't include my maiden name. So
Mm.
learning number one in the process was really important, that you have your personal account in a name that you can verify. Like, I have so many friends who have, they change it a little bit,
Yes.
they make it their nickname or whatever, but how do you verify that that's you? And most business accounts are attached to a personal account, so the two go together. So that was really tricky, and unfortunately, basically, once it was rejected, I was given another opportunity to upload documents, but then they kind of rejected that as well and said, sorry, we're too busy because we don't have enough staff at the moment with COVID. So this is final. And I kind of, I'll be honest, I did panic.
Yeah, of course. Well, naturally.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't have a massive following. I'm small. I have a beautiful little community of people who are pretty engaged, and so even though I'm not big, I don't even have 1,000 followers. So I was like, a few hundred. I was still devastated. I had a little cry, and my husband was great. He's like, let's just try and figure this out. And we literally went through everything, all the support pages, the business pages, everything. Couldn't work anything out. So my husband phoned the ACCC, and that was like the best thing he could have done, because we got given some phone numbers, and that led to me being able to get in contact with the Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman, and they actually went into bat for me. So they just required me to provide a whole heap of information, and they literally went to Meta, who runs Facebook. That's the name behind Facebook, for those who don't know, and on my behalf, and we kind of went back and forward from there. But it was a really long process. I think from the 5th of October is when it initially happened. I don't think I got everything fully restored until around the 20th or the 21st of November. So like a 5-week process. And during that time, I actually got hacked another 2 times. So I got my accounts back after 8 days. And then a day or so later, I got hacked again. I had 2-step authentication in place. I had made sure all my security etc. were correct, but it still happened. And on the second one, they actually hacked into my business account. It was my personal, but at some stage, we don't know yet whether it was the first hacking or the second hacking. They actually got into my ads account, and they had added themselves as an administrator. They'd set up 3 advertising campaigns, and I don't know, something they did there obviously breached standards. Good thing about the second hacking, and consequently the third, was that I had decoupled my Instagram account from those accounts. So I didn't lose my Instagram. I only lost my personal and my business Facebook accounts. During that time, I had to then try and get my advertising rights back. I could post on my page and I could post on my personal page, but I couldn't do any advertising, which normally would be okay. But leading into Christmas, teachers' gifts are a big thing in my business. So I wasn't able to advertise that at all. So, and I had to get the charges reversed that they had racked up. It was only $220 or something like that. But it's still money that I hadn't. The good news is I had it originally set up linked with PayPal. When I was hacked, that link was automatically severed. But I have since found out that you can, if you can't access your account, you just go into PayPal and you can delete that through PayPal, that link, which is really good to know. Yeah. So, but then once I got all of that, while I was getting that all sorted out, I thought, I'll advertise on Marketplace and just do it locally. And literally a day later, I got hacked again. I don't even know what happened this time, but then they removed my right to advertise on on Marketplace. So now I had lost my advertising rights and my ability to access Marketplace. So it was lots of back and forward to the Small Business Ombudsman, and thankfully they were able to, talk to the right people, because honestly, there was no places in Facebook where I could
Yeah.
and say, this is what's going on. I'd sent some messages, some of them I was getting responses to, and others I wasn't. So, and then there were times where I just couldn't enter anything at all. So it was quite a frustrating process.
Yeah, and I've heard that before from not quite so in like the relationship with people that I know have been hacked before hasn't been quite so close as with
Yeah,
you and you being able to share so much. But I
yeah.
have heard that it's very difficult to liaise directly with Facebook, and it's very difficult to get your accounts back. So I would never have even thought to go to the ombudsman. So that is such a huge
Massive
thing to have up your sleeve in Australia, if you're listening in Australia.
Yeah,
But surely in other countries there's got to be something
yeah.
for them to act on your behalf. Must have been such a big relief.
It was amazing. I honestly don't believe I would have had it all restored without their help, because I had no way of saying to them, hey, I am who I say I am.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to get my marriage certificate to them, all of those sorts of things. And
Yeah.
it was just so many learning curves in that process. Just even I didn't know, maybe other people know, but I didn't know that if you receive an email from Facebook and you're not sure if it's actually Facebook, with all these scams that are going around,
Yeah.
you can log into your account in Facebook and you can actually see a list of the emails that have been sent to you from Facebook, so you can verify before opening or clicking on any links. So, I mean, that was a learning for me. Maybe I'm a bit naive.
No, I had never known that either. So just for those listeners, Trish is a beautiful member of the Branding Hub, my membership for brand builders. And she shared this incredible lengthy document outlining everything that she learned and everything that she recommends. And that I was reading it just in awe, because I didn't, how do you know these things? Like how are you supposed to know these things? It's the same as sort of anything in business. It's like you don't know what you don't know. It's so easy to set things up, but nobody actually tells you, how to protect yourself in this way. And I was sitting there before when you were saying you were so confused about like who to trust, because I was saying that to my husband the other day, that we get like so many text messages and so many emails that are scammers. It's so hard like to tell who's who in the zoo and who's who's actually who they say they are.
Yes.
And they're getting so savvy, like even the email addresses look genuine now, and you've got to dig deeper to really find out, because then there's the fear of missing something or missing a bill that was due, or it's just it's a crazy world out there. And I just think it's amazing that you kept going, like that you had that resilience to keep going. And, a lot of people would have just given up after that first headbutting, with Facebook, when they said that they couldn't do anything and they were too short staffed. They would have just been like, oh, I'll just start again. But yeah, I really admire that you kept going. So you've mentioned a few key things. Have you got like some core recommendations that you could share to other small businesses who are marketing online to protect themselves from this happening?
Yeah. So first and foremost, make sure you have two-step authentication set up. Like clearly it didn't stop me being hacked, but it was one of the first questions. The Ombudsman had a list of questions that they provided to me, which they are given from Meta. They want to know these things before they'll even look at your case. Whilst it didn't stop it, I think it helped in the process of getting it sorted out, because they're like, okay, this person's done the right thing. So go in and I think you can actually run like a security check if you go into the business security settings, all of that sort of stuff. Second of all, if it's attached to your personal account, make sure that your name is on that account is something that you can easily verify that you are who you say you are, and know that if you do have to submit ID online to Facebook, that is a thing. And I just made sure that I covered important details. So when I uploaded my license, covered my signature, covered my license number. And when I uploaded my marriage certificate, it had my name, my husband's name, my maiden name, my husband's name, but all the other information was blanked out. So just they could see the marriage certificate stamp and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I've got a little list here because I don't want to forget anything. Decouple your connection between Instagram and Facebook. That's a good one. In your billing account, there is a part where you can actually nominate a limit on how much can be spent before you're notified. Now, somebody said to me, well, what's the point? If they hack it, they'll just change that anyway. And they're right. But I figure they don't have necessarily a lot of time, especially if you notice that notification straight away. In the short amount of time, they managed to add themselves as an administrator and set up 3 advertising campaigns. I guess it's just another thing that they have to have a look at and change.
Yeah.
Having PayPal attached to your billing account is a much safer way, I think, than a credit card directly on there. Because my account was shut down, I would have had absolutely no way of getting in to remove my credit card details.
Yeah.
So they actually put in their own credit card details, which of course were fraudulent, because that PayPal connection was automatically removed, because I hadn't even thought of that when this I just got this notification saying that your automatic billing has been disconnected. And I was like, oh my goodness. And in that email, it said that you can do this also via PayPal. So of course I went in and had a look where I go. And that's in under the billing setting, I think, under My Money and automatic payments. So,
okay.
so go in there. So that's a good point. Go into your accounts and have a look what's in there.
Familiarize yourself.
The PayPal, because there's so many things that you're just not aware of.
Yeah.
The other thing I learned through this process, that if you do use your credit card online for any kind of purchases, not just with Facebook, if you use a credit card as opposed to a debit card, a credit card has limits on it and it has insurances, etc., attached to it. If you use a debit card, it's attached to your actual bank account. So they can actually just keep removing all the money from your bank account. And it's not as easy. I'm not saying you can't get the money back, but I've been told that it's not as easy to get the money back. And then that's your money just gone. Whereas on a credit card, there is those sort of checks and balances put in place.
Yeah.
Interestingly, we had our credit card hacked a week ago.
What?
And I was part of Medibank and also the not Vodafone, the other one. Anyway, the phone company hacking. So I'm just like, I'm very over hacking at the moment.
Yeah, I'll bet.
We got all our money back, thankfully, with our credit card.
So frustrating.
What else do I thought? Yes. The other thing that I learned is that Google can save a lot of passwords. Somebody said to me, go and check your Google account and see if you've got passwords saved in there. And I went in and, oh my goodness, I had lots of passwords that I didn't even realize. So I then I went in, I changed all of those passwords, deleted them all, and made sure that I pay attention to every pop-up that comes up when I'm online. Logging into something, I was just saying, no, don't save this password, because you just don't know. I don't know where the hacking has come from. So I wanted to.
So is that in your Google business account? Like, do you have to log in for that, or is that just in your browser settings?
That's a good question. I think it's my personal Google account.
Yeah.
So so you just go into your actual account and then you can go to, I think it must be under passwords.
Yeah.
just go in and have a play. I
Yeah.
would be looking under both, but
Yeah.
most of mine was stored in my personal, not
Yeah.
my business
Yeah.
account. So
Yeah.
yeah, very scary. So I don't know whether I've been saying yes or whether it's just been saving them automatically, but I
Yeah.
had to change so many passwords.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, so I didn't even realize that I'd done that. So
Mm.
a bit scary. Another big learning was that I needed to put in place a system for logging my DMs on my socials because, you know, you get DMs and it's a bit like email, like it's
Yeah.
always there, right? So I had message threads with customers, some corporate orders, etc. And I hadn't actually gotten to the point of getting their contacts details and all that sort of thing because I just messaged them back through there. So it made me really think that I need a system for straight away when I have contact with someone, getting their contact details and recording it outside of socials.
Yeah.
Because I was sort of like, these people are going to think I'm really rude. I just
Yeah.
off the face of the planet. And
Yeah.
not only have I not replied, I'm just no longer able to be found online.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another big thing. I think they're the main things, I think. Oh, another thing. There's two things. First of all, build your email list. I hadn't really
Yeah.
put a lot of time into doing that, and that's sort of one of my big things for the new year.
Mm-hmm.
Is, working on that. But if you do get hacked, take screenshots of everything. If you get a message, you go in and you're putting in details, take a screenshot of it before you send it. If you get a reply message, take a screenshot because they wanted screenshots of a few things. And thankfully, I had taken them because I'm like, this is the message that it's sending me. It's saying I can't fix this and it's
Yeah.
final.
Yeah.
So having those things there so you don't have to go back and try and find where was that screen, just save them somewhere, and if you don't need them, great, but if you do, you've got them all there.
Yeah.
So that was a big like blur.
No, that's incredibly helpful. I'm just sitting here like mentally ticking off all the things that I need to go and check because even you know, I was just sort of sitting there thinking that lots of things that we do, even in life and business, we sort of put our contact details in and then forget about the account, or, you know, especially when it comes to payments and that sort of thing that are saved credit cards and that sort of thing. That just sit there, don't they? And then we forget about them, and then and then, you know, like there's so many, like we leave a trail, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And you know, as savvy as we all try to be,
Yeah.
it's so tricky. Like it's a
So
tricky world to navigate. So I'm just so grateful for you for coming and sharing your experience so openly and so generously, sharing all of those tips, because I've no doubt that this podcast will help somebody one day when they need
I
it.
hope so. We all
Yeah.
like to think we're never going to be hacked. Like I had never really thought about it, to be
No.
honest. And when it happened, I was just kind of pretty blasé about it initially until I realized, oh, this is a little bit bigger than I had
Yeah.
needed. So
Yeah. Quite impactful.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all back now and it's all sorted. And, you know, hopefully it doesn't happen again. But
Yeah.
I think just if it does, I'll just go through those steps and
Yeah.
hopefully get it sorted.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what to do. You can have that confidence now.
Yeah. So the Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman, they're the
Yeah.
ones in contact with. They're awesome. Obviously, if you lose money and things like that, then there are other places that you should contact as well, but they'll usually give you that information when you talk to them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Trish.
No
So
problem.
we got a
So
little
much
bit
for
heavy.
having
We
me.
got a little bit heavy at the end there. So let's finish off with some fun questions. I have
Sure.
some rapid fire questions. I don't know if you've heard these with other guests on the podcast before. So I'm just going to say what's your favorite, and then I'll say a word, and we'll just whatever comes to mind.
Yeah.
Just be you. What's your favorite app?
My favorite app is probably Pinterest. I can get lost in Pinterest.
Is Leaf Jars on Pinterest?
Not yet. Another thing that I
Oh,
want to do.
it's
Yes.
exciting, guys.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Favorite time of day?
This is tricky.
Mm.
Actually, I'm probably most productive in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
I do love when I get up early. I do love the early morning.
A bit of a mix, eh?
Yeah.
Right. Exercise.
Walking.
Mm.
Probably because I
Um,
do it with my cousin mostly.
oh, that's
So it's
nice.
a nice thing to chat and
Oh, I love a good walk and a chat. It's
yeah,
so good for the soul, isn't it?
absolutely.
Okay, favorite habit or ritual?
Hmm. I've been thinking about this. Really sad. I actually don't really have any real rituals or habits, which is very
Oh,
bad. And it's something that I need to work on because there's a few
maybe.
things that I'd like to factor into my life on a daily basis. So yeah, it's good because it's reminding me that I need to work on that.
Yes, yes, 100%. And I don't like, I'm not a big believer in New Year's resolutions, but I do feel like if it's around the time that you want to make a change, it's a good time to, to set a date and just and do it and make yourself accountable each day. I'm
Absolutely.
excited to hear what that ritual becomes, what it is. Okay, favorite way to relax.
Definitely spending time with the family or my close friends.
Yeah, beautiful. And finally, your favorite thing about your business.
All the beautiful people that I get to meet, I think. Yeah, I get to play with plants and meet lovely people.
How does it doesn't get any better, does it?
I know.
Well, Trish, you have been absolute treasure. Thank you so, so much for coming and chatting with me and sharing everything. As I said, where can we find you? Where can we find Leaf Jars?
Yeah, so we're online at www.leafjars.com.au and on socials on Instagram at Leaf Jars Oz, AUS, and on Facebook it's just Leaf Jars.
Amazing. So go and say hi to Trish. Go and check out her Leaf Jars. They're just divine. I love them and I've adored speaking with you. So thank you so much again.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. If you loved this week's episode of Brand Lover, take a screenshot of wherever you're listening and share your biggest takeaway on Instagram or Facebook. And don't forget to tag me. I'd love to give you a shout out and thank you personally. Also, feel free to subscribe and leave a review to help the Brand Lover podcast reach more heart-aligned entrepreneurs just like yourself. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.